Hey there everybody, Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Today we are going to be making over this little rocking horse. Now it's a perfect little kid's toy and I could certainly paint it up to be used as that, but they tend to have a very short lifespan because kids outgrow them very quickly. So it's not unusual, one, to be able to pick these items up very cheaply at your local thrift store, which is where I got mine, or for them to end up decorating landfills because people just get rid of them. They don't know what else to do with them. So what I wanted to do was to do something a little bit different. Rather than fix it up for something for a child to be able to ride on, I wanted to make it over as something that now is usable within your home, regardless of whether you have kids or not. So something that's a little bit whimsical, but it's gonna go in our garden. Now, the first thing that we have to do is to take out all the rest of these staples and tacks that it had for all of the, you can see it's still got part of the tail attached. So it had the mane, it had the tail, and I'm just trying to see whether or not I have a screwdriver that would fit underneath there, and I don't think so. Oh, well, little wonder, look how long those babies are. Now that's a staple, my friends. Okay, so the first task is get all of these out, and then we'll take a look at painting it up. This is kind of beat up already. It's going out into the garden, so I'm not desperately worried about exactly it being in perfect shape because it's not going to last that way anyway. But it does have a couple of little screw holes and gouges that I'm just going to fill with some wood filler. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to sand it smooth, and then we're going to start to paint. Hey there. So this is all dry, and I just want to give it all a quick sand. Just to take the rough spots off. We're going to be covering up most of this with paint, but I just want to smooth it out, make it a little bit nicer to feel, and then just a quick wipe down to get rid of the dust. So what I am thinking is, because I'm anticipating this going into a garden, what I'm looking at doing is painting the top yellow. So I'm going to do yellow down to the base of the legs, and I'm going to paint all of the bottom kind of a grass green, so probably a combination of Monet's Garden and Salty Kiss in the DIY paint line, and kind of at that point blend the green up in rough strokes so it looks sort of grassy. And when I get that done, we'll see how it goes. What I'm probably gonna do is paint some flowers. So really, all that is needed for this next step, and because I have some yellow already, just an old yellow that I wanna use up, it's just as simple as putting some paint on. Now, what I will be doing is 2 coats so that I get good coverage. So this first coat is really just my get it on so that it gives me a good surface of paint for the next layers to stick to. And what's going to be most important for this piece is going to be the sealing. We're going to use a sealer that's graded for outdoors, and we'll put 2 or 3 coats of that on once we're done painting, just so that people can use it outside wherever. It's going to have the longest life if it's on a covered patio, but I don't know where people are going to put it. They could put it right smack dab in the middle of the garden somewhere. And so we want to give them that flexibility. When you don't know how people are going to use it, it's best to err on the side of caution. So I'm gonna carry on getting this painted, getting the 2 coats on, and then we will join back up again for the next step. For this stage of the project, I've turned it down a little bit so that you can see kind of what I'm doing, where I'm going with this. I have done 2 coats of the yellow, I've done 2 coats of the green, and I have at least painted out with an exterior polyacrylic one layer just on the yellow where I'm going to be painting. And the reason that I do that is so that when I paint this, if I mess up, I can take a wet cloth and wipe it out. So if you think that you're not a great painter, this is a great option because the DIY paint is going to wipe away. And really, I'm just painting some loose daisy type flowers. So you can see that I'm planning on doing one oops, now you can see, I'm planning on doing one kind of roughly where the eye is because I'll do a little dark center on them. But there's really no magic to this, right? I'm doing 5 petals. So I just start by drawing 1 line in the center, 2 angling up and 2 angling down. And then I just go back in and kind of fill in the color a little bit. So I'll probably do 2 coats of white and then I'll come back in with a little bit of black in the centers. So I'm not looking at having these super detailed. I'm not looking at adding leaves all over the place, just something that makes it a little bit cuter. So I'm going to do some around the rim, maybe some coming down the legs a little bit. And you can see I'm doing a variety of sizes. So nothing needs to look perfect. Nothing needs to look identical, which is awesome. So I've got a lot of leeway. I'll probably do like a bigger flower up here at the wider part of the leg and then a couple of smaller ones down here. I can't get in between the legs, so I am only going to do the fronts, you know, the sides that I can really see, and then I'm going to call it quits. So I'm not going to do the inside legs. I'll probably not do the inside here in the body. So I'm just going to do these outside and the front and back edges of them, because otherwise it gets crazy making, and I'm not into being driven crazy. So you're just kind of drawing in your little flowers where you will, and I just kind of alternate some of the directions of the flowers. That's it. Okay, so I've got all of the little white flowers all over, and you can start to see that I've started to add just a little bit of a center. So rather than using black, I'm using old school, which is like a deep gray in the DIY lane, because I don't want to have as stark a contrast between black and white. But again, you know, you do you. And I'm just using, again, a little tapered brush, and I'm just kind of dabbing small little dots. Rather than doing one big circle, I'm just dabbing some little dots in the center of each of the flowers. And that's all the detail that I'm going to add to them. You know, I had debated whether, would I want to outline them? Would I want to? No, I don't want to do that. I like the simplicity of this. This is going out in the garden. I don't want to have like the big black rim around the flowers. Again, I think that's going to look a little too, I don't know, 60-ish something. I just want something that was a little bit sweet, a little bit cute, that was sitting out. in the garden with some plants on it, and the star of the show is really going to be whatever plant somebody puts on it. I'm going to carry on with this. I'm going to poly it, lightly sand in between your coats of polish. So do a coat of poly, let it dry completely, take a really, really fine piece of sandpaper or, you know, Mega Zero grade of steel wool, just lightly sand it down, do a coat and wipe away the dust, do a coat of poly. Do the same thing, do a coat of poly. So in between poly coats, do a little bit of a light sanding. It helps your poly to be able to adhere better. And then we are good to go for adding our basket. But I think it's just gonna be nice and sweet, just kind of cute little rocking horse in the garden, rather than being a toy anymore. It gets a practical purpose, practical makeover, and yeah, I may have to keep it in my garden. This little guy has gotten multiple coats of an exterior grade polyacrylic. I was just using general finishes. I'm not sure I said that earlier. And the goal for this was always for it to be outside, to be used as kind of a garden planter, something cute and whimsical in the garden. Down here, easy to just put a big pot or multiple pots and have things grow. It's not really going to tip or fall. It's kind of protected. Up here, the basket needed to be supported so that this at least is anchored in, so that as you would add a pot in, it's not going to tip out if somebody felt inclined to rock the horse. It seemed like a perfect idea in my head, which is usually where the perfect ideas happen. But in execution, what I determined was, as much as I picked a mesh basket because of the look, and I had thought, oh, that's going to be super easy to attach, it meant that none of my pneumatic staplers were going to work because they are big mamma jammas and they don't fit. So you could probably squeeze a little handheld stapler in and wiggle into space, and whether you can work the handle or not, that would maybe work. But I'm going with what I had in my shop. So what I found is that I had these little, I'm gonna say they're like upholstery tacks. So they're fat on the top, and then they have the two prongs. And they happen to be in white, so that kind of works with the project. And I trialed one to see if it worked before I got y'all involved here. And it's already kind of doing its job. So I want to fit just another couple in there to anchor it a little bit better. So here's what I was doing. I am sort of finding a space in my bars that I can kind of squeeze them open and kind of push my hammer in. Oh my goodness, this is a skinnier spot. Okay, so getting it in, putting my little, it's kind of like, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a two-pronged upholstery tack or something. Sometimes I just find hardware that's inexpensive, and I buy it thinking I'm gonna find a use for it, so it'll be okay. Okay, I'm just leaving my hammer in there. I'm just leaving my hammer in there now that it's in there, and popping off over to the other side, and I think I can make it work. If I get 3 in there. Okay, that's a little harder because I'm in the fat powder mud handle now. It. All right, so the smarter way to go is to put the handle through it. Sometimes I figure these things out and I'm already on film. Oh yeah, that's way easier. Do it that way. Lord. Awesome. Oh, yeah, get a mesh one and just put the handle through. That works great. Oh my goodness. Now I feel so silly for struggling so long with the other one. Okay, that baby's on there. So 3 of those really holds it just fine. And that's all you're looking for, is a basket that you can get anchored on there, so that as you've got a pot sitting up there, in there, it's gonna be nice and secure. And I'm gonna take some pics of this, but I think it's super cute, super sweet, a great repurposing of a child's toy into something that's gonna look really cute in your garden and in your backyard, maybe on a front porch somewhere. And especially by the time that you get your pot in and you've got a cascade of colorful blooms. So really the idea is, when you're out there and you're looking at items in a thrift store, look for and think about different ways that you can repurpose them. You're gonna be able to get them super cheap because nobody else has your vision, but you're gonna come up with something that's really super cool. Always for the paint and supplies, and possibly as well to be able to pick up the items that I've made in these videos. If you're watching this early in the process, go to queenbeecreationshome.com. Give me a like, subscribe if you haven't done that already, so keep me coming into your feed, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday for the next video. Take care.